Republican presidential candidate, stays with us now, and she is taking Hillary Clinton on full force. Have a listen.
Traveled 1 million miles, and I traveled nearly that and went to more countries than anybody has gone to.
Like Mrs. Clinton, I too have traveled the globe, but unlike her, I've actually accomplished something.
Wow, not mincing words there. Carly, what role do you think that America should play in the world?
America must always face out into the world. When we are not leading, the world is a more dangerous and a more tragic place. And unfortunately, we are not leading. So we need to stand by our allies. It doesn't mean rushing off to war, but we need to stand by our allies like Israel. We need to stand by our Arab allies who are asking us for our help and support in their fight against ISIS, and they know it's their fight. We need to stand by Ukraine. We need to stand by Japan and Australia as China becomes more aggressive. And we need to confront our adversaries. We need to confront Vladimir Putin, not with a gimmicky red reset button, but by rebuilding the Sixth Fleet, rebuilding the missile defense program, conducting regular military exercises in the Baltics, and arming the Ukrainians. We need to take on Iran. President Obama has violated every rule of negotiation in this negotiation.
And the next president is going to will likely inherit a nuclear deal with Iran. So can you repudiate that? Would you do that? And what would you do to hold Iran accountable?
So I would make a phone call on day one to the supreme leader of Iran. He might not take the phone call, but he would get the message. And the message would be, unless you are prepared to open every nuclear facility you have and every uranium enrichment facility you have,
including on military bases.
Yes, to full and unfettered inspections, we will make it as difficult as possible for you to move money around the global financial system. We can make it much more difficult for them to move money. We have not. Yes, I might inherit a deal, but that doesn't mean I have to live up to it, because this is a bad deal.
But Iran is a distinct state. We can talk to Iran's leaders, we can negotiate with them or punish them. When you think about something like, for example, the Islamic State, President Obama has taken a policy of effectively trying to contain them within Iraq, but there's no broader strategy there. They're in a lot of places. How would you think about that? Has anyone influenced the way that you're constructing your foreign policy toward the war on terror?
So I know our Arab allies personally, and I think they know that this is their fight. What I would do immediately is have a Camp David summit with our Arab allies, not to talk them into a bad deal with Iran, but to say to them, what do you need from us to successfully fight ISIS? The truth is, they've asked us for very specific things. King Abdullah of Jordan has asked us for bombs and materiel. We haven't provided it. President Sisi of Egypt has asked us to share intelligence. We are not. The Kurds have asked us to arm them. The Saudis, the Bahrainis, the Qataris, they've all asked us for specific things to help them in this fight, and we are not providing them.
Very briefly to Asia. China has seized airspace, Japanese airspace. We haven't done anything to punish them for that. The South China Sea, they're building islands that may soon be militarized. How do you approach that region of the world, knowing, again, that you might inherit a lot more disorder than the prior president did?
Yes. So China clearly is becoming an adversary. I think we just have to accept that. Secondly, once again, we have allies in that region who can help us contain China, but we need to give them the support that they've asked for.
But that's what you would advocate, a containment policy toward China.
Yes, in the sense that we cannot permit them to take control of international waters. We cannot permit them to build military bases right where so much of the world's trade flows. We also, by the way, in addition to becoming more assertive militarily, Ash Carter, the Secretary of Defense, is saying the right things. I hope we follow through. We need to support our allies as they become more assertive in the region as well. But we have leverage over China. We have leverage over how fast their economy grows. We have leverage in terms of the role that our companies play in that economy, and we really haven't used that leverage very effectively.
What about the soft power? President George W. Bush, for example, used to host Chinese dissidents in the White House and the Dalai Lama. Would you do that?
Perhaps, But I think what would make a bigger impact, honestly, on the Chinese leadership, look, they've made a deal with their people. And the deal is, we'll grow this economy at a rate fast enough to lift people out of poverty. And in return, you will accept an increasingly repressive and totalitarian regime that forcibly relocates people, that has high levels of corruption, etc. So economic growth is at the core of how the Chinese think about their self-interest. So something I might do, for example, is begin a conversation that says, you know, we're going to ask you to play by the same rules in our country as you force us to play by in your country. It would change their calculation dramatically. We haven't done that. I think we should consider that.
Okay. Carly Fiorina, thanks very much.
Thank you.